like it, turn off your lights for closet horror stories. Toes in the closet. So this is a fun story my cousins told me not too long ago that I felt like sharing. Around 19 years ago, in the suburb of St. Louis, my aunt and twin cousins were coming home from dinner. My uncle had been working late the past few days, and it was just the three of them. They pulled into the drive, and Jess and Steph ran inside, while their mom pulled the car into the garage and settled things down. There were only about 6 at the time, and ran straight up to their rooms to play before bath and bedtime. While they were in there, Jess was throwing off her jacket, and Steph was kicking off her boots, when Jess got a very weird feeling. She didn't want to open the closet. Steph was just jabbering away, and Jess went pale, and turned towards her, motioning to be quiet. Their shadow was quite shallow, and underneath the small lip at the bottom, she could see dirty toes sticking out and a dark shadow. Luckily, I don't know if it was fear or resourcefulness, but they quietly made their way out of their bedroom and back downstairs. Their mom was down there and just calmly told her that there were toes in the closet. Of course, she gave them a puzzled look, but after repeating herself again, much more frantically, and realizing that both of their faces were drained of color, she quickly put the pieces together. They sprinted out of the house and across the street to the neighbors to call the police and my uncle. Not long after that, the police were there, and they were pulling what looked like to be a homeless man out of the house in handcuffs. When they found him, he was still in the closet. Thinking he was hidden from sight, with a kitchen knife in his hand, he broke into their house and brandished himself with a rather large knife and made his way into the girls' room. What's creepy about this story is that he specifically targeted the girls and was going to wait for them to go to bed. I'm so thankful that my cousins were smart little girls in this situation and handled it like chaps. Also, I forgot to mention that they lived in a nice area where at the time had a surge of break-ins. I think that's why my aunt believed my cousins immediately when they came downstairs and told her what was up. In the closet, in the crawl space. Part of my previous job requirements involved doing bi-weekly inspections on HUD properties, vacant government-owned homes that were contracted to list for sale. A lot of these properties were in pretty unsafe neighborhoods. One in particular remains my least favorite house, out of over 300 to this day. To start with, on my first visit, it was apparent that something had happened in this house. Someone had been making meth or something had gone horribly wrong. A fire had occurred, but there was no record of a fire with a previous insurance company. The neighbors said no fire had occurred, and the local fire department or police had never responded to a fire. I had my fair share of problems with broken windows, used condoms, the usual stuff you find in a neighborhood like this. Then, one afternoon, I pulled up in front of the house and started my inspection as I usually did, by walking around the house and going into the garage. Immediately, a car down the street started honking their horn. I thought it was weird, but this isn't the best neighborhood, so I just ignored it. This house had a garage that was built onto the back of the house, covering 2 bedroom windows. The windows looked down into the garage. There was no door from the garage into the house. In order to enter the garage, you had to go in through a single door on the left-hand side of the property, towards the back. I should also mention that the heating system of this house is such that all of the heat comes up from the middle of the house, through a big open vent covered with a screen. The ductwork is gone, so when you look through the vent, you can see into the crawl space. I go in the garage, and I notice that the crawl space door is open. I look up and notice that one of the bedroom windows is open. I stop. They should both be closed. I stand there for what feels like forever, and contemplate calling the police, but I'm in a hurry, so I just turn around, go back out the door and lock it. I go into the front of the house. The car down the street is still honking its horn. I start my inspection as I usually do. Kitchen, living room, bathroom, bedroom number 3, bedroom number 1, and then I go to open the hallway closet in between bedroom number 1 and bedroom number 2. It won't open. I know I've opened it before. I'm turning the knob and I'm pulling it and it will not open. I start to get a really weird feeling in my stomach. The car outside is still honking. I step over the vent in the floor to go to bedroom number 2, and I look down to see a pair of eyes looking back up at me. I look up, wipe my face, look back down, and they are gone. I ran straight out the front door, into my car and locked my doors. The car stopped honking. This is what I think happened. When I got to the house, there were 2 people inside. The person honking the car horn warned them when I got out of the car. One of them had time to jump out the window and into the garage, and then went into the crawl space. The other one only had time to get into the closet. When I ran out of the house and the horn stopped, they were signaling that I was leaving. I returned to the property 2 weeks later to find the window shut, the crawl space door locked, but a broken window. I did not enter the house, but called the police instead. They found the closet door shut again, and 4 officers were unable to open the door. Upon my return 2 weeks after that, the door opened with ease. I'm convinced someone was in the house with me on many of my visits. I just didn't know it. Closet. Some information before I dive into the story. I am an 18-year-old female, and I still live with my parents and brothers. We live in a fairly decent neighborhood. It's middle class for the most part. A couple weeks back, I'd just gone home from work. My mom was downstairs playing on her laptop. As usual, I went straight upstairs and used the bathroom, then went into my room and began catching up with friends and texting back. I was just texting friends back when I heard a creak from my closet, like something moved. I stared at it for a moment and instantly became paranoid. I'm one of those people that hears a noise and decides it's someone trying to murder me. So anyways, I stared at it and decided I was going to go downstairs. I leave my room and close the door. I decide to wait outside the door and see if I hear any more noises. My closet is right next to my bedroom door, and I heard slight shuffling sounds coming from inside. Finally, I ran downstairs and told my mom there was someone in my bedroom and that we needed to get out of the house. We got out of the house and locked ourselves in the car and waited for the cops. The cops came and searched our home and found a man scrunched up hiding in my bedroom closet. I really wonder what the hell he was doing in there. They found no weapons on him and he didn't appear homeless. I also wonder how the fuck he got in there and how long he had been there for. It had to be some time after I left for work. We think he climbed through my brother's window. He's currently being charged with trespassing. Guy in my closet. Let's not meet. So there was a guy in my closet I'd like to not meet again, but I'll start at the beginning and we can go from there. This first time I came face to face with a strange man was about 7 years ago. It was a normal summer day. Now, I didn't have a terrible childhood, but I didn't have a great one either. My mother was struggling to make ends meet. We lived in a really crappy 2-bedroom house. It was my mother, her boyfriend, and my 2 younger brothers and myself. My mother worked nights and so did her boyfriend, so it was up to me to watch my 2 brothers in the evenings. It was like any other normal summer day at first. My friends and I hung out during the day, walked around our small town, enjoying the warm weather. Now, for it being a small town, there was still plenty to do. Walking through the woods, go down to the park, All the typical kid things. We decided to waste time at the park until I had to go home to watch my brothers. It was normal, boring stuff. We walked around, played with a basketball someone left behind, sat on the swings and talked about our lives and what we were going to do when we got older. It was nearing 3 p.m. when we noticed a guy sitting on a bench over by the basketball court. Now, it was nearing time for me to get home anyways, and as the man was giving me and both of my friends an odd vibe, we decided to leave. As we neared the main street, which my house also happened to be on, we parted ways. I get home. My mother lets me know there are leftovers for the boys and myself. This is on her way to work. Then is on her way to work. We spend most of the day indoors, watching TV or playing video games. Around 7:30 p.m., my brothers want to go outside and ride their bikes. It's just now getting dark, so I agree. They ride their bikes for about half an hour. I'm sitting on the curb looking at my phone, texting my friends about how bored I am, when my youngest brother, who must have been 7 at the time, comes up to me and points over towards our house. I look just in time to see what looked like a man walk inside. I immediately tell my brothers to not worry and continue riding their bikes, as I will call my mother and let her know what just happened. So I call my mother, she calls the police, and they show up within 5 minutes, seeing as the police station is just a few blocks away. Small town. They do a full search of our home but find nothing. They speak to my mother on the phone and tell her nothing is there, and that it must have been our imagination. Tentatively, my brothers and I go back into the house, so I sit them down and turn on the TV. Time flies and I look up and it's already 9:30 p.m. I really got to get them to bed soon. I head upstairs to go into our closet. All 3 of us share one bedroom, so all of our clothes are stuck in one closet. I turn on the closet light and start digging through the pile of clothes on the floor that we never got around to putting away. I hear a noise that sounds like a deep breath. Thinking it must be my imagination, I continue to pull pajamas for my brothers. I grab their PJs and go to pull the string that turns off the light. Out of the corner of my eye, I see movement. I look over and see a face, peering out of the large pile of clothes. The man was hiding under our clothes in my closet. He made a sudden movement and I book it. I just take off running. I can hear him struggling to get out of the clothes. I don't stop running down the hallway, down the stairs, knocking anything over in my process in hopes it will slow him down. I burst into the living room and grab my brother's arms, practically pulling them out of their sockets in my attempt to drag them from the house. We are outside and 3 blocks away before I quit dragging them behind me. I reach for my phone to call the police, but it's not in my pocket. I left it on the couch, so we hoof it. I drag my brothers behind me in the middle of the night. They are tired. They don't know what happened, and I won't tell them. They don't need to know. They would never want to go in their closet ever again. I get to the police station and call our mother. They drive us home, and she leaves work early. They do another full search, but once more, find nothing. Well, nothing but the mess I made in my attempt to leave. No evidence at all. Nothing. They basically told me to stop wasting their time and they left. My mother said she believed me, but of course I knew it was just something she would say to console me. She says I can stay the night at her friend's if I can get a hold of someone just to make me feel better. So, we all go inside. My mom sends my brothers to go get cleaned up for bed. I walk over to the couch where I left my phone. It wasn't there, though. It's on the floor. Smashed to pieces. Very obviously smashed by a hammer, seeing as the hammer is sitting right next to it. I call my mother over and show her the mess of my phone on the ground. She walks over to our storage cabinet and pulls down the only toolbox we have. She opens it, and our hammer is still inside. I didn't realize what that meant at the time, but now that I think about it, that man that was in my home, in my closet, in my room with a hammer, just waiting and hoping for me and my younger brothers to fall asleep. Let's not meet again, please.